We are Talking Heads. Talking Heads. Levels exceed the red. Metal Heads. We're Talking Heads. Levels exceed the red. Pushing the man to the edge. Heavyweight pressure coming down for the Metal Heads. Are you ready for this? Talking Heads. Talking Heads.
It's just my label, you know, Metal Heads is my label and I've been running it. I started with Doc Scott many years ago, 001. But it was just a prototype label, which I guess it still is in that sense.
I mean, he is a figurehead, you know. We have a few in the scene that are like really important key figures, and you know, there's Goldie and there's Groove Rider and Frosty, all these people that really hold up the whole thing and make it solid.
Metal Heads has been there since like the big explosion, you know what I mean? It was all the elements in Metal Heads, all the artists have been there since like day dot.
Goldie, with what he did with Metal Heads, really did take the scene and the whole drum and bass thing to another level.
For me, Metalhead's sort of, it brought a lot of people together, and within those sort of ranks, everyone sort of set the basic standards of how the music is today.
Concepts ahead. Everyone's in their head. It's just saying their heads must keep their heads and just go forward. It's not saying that Metal Heads is a label, it's the most prestigious whatever. We don't blow any horns, man. It's about a lot of people that have been creative, about being together and making it work.
They've done a wicked job. If you look at the back catalogue, I mean, there's very few labels that have got a back catalogue as rich as the Metal Heads back catalogue, you know.
It's really weird that the kind of symbol, I mean, this guy Darren did it, and it was really weird because it always reminded me of this very strong icon, because it was literally meaning that long after I'm dead and everybody else is dead, the music will still be here, which is why it's a skull with a pair of headphones on.
I don't reckon there's many other labels, you know, around that, you know, you can have that kind of artistic freedom to do what you want. And there's no real barriers, you know, holding you back from, you know, taking it a step further. That's what Metal Heads is about.
There's so many different people involved within it, like from so many different backgrounds. We're not all coming from a jazz background, we're not all coming from a rock background, you know, it's all different.
The thing about Metal Heads, when that came along, it came at a time when there was beginning to be a little bit more of a segregation in British clubland somehow. I don't know what happened, but you know, rave came along and it kind of made things either sort of white or black somehow, you know what I mean? And so when I went to Speed and certain breakbeat clubs in the early days, it was the first time for some time that I was going to clubs where I was getting this mixture again, and that really meant a lot to me. Well, the Blue Note, of course, used to be the bass clef. People were getting sick of the West End policies and all that business, and the fact that you couldn't really find a good small club in London to play intense music. So in a way, the timing was brilliant, and you know, they set the place up, and it was a huge success. Obviously, it was there that Metal Heads really kind of kicked off.
Blue Note has just finished after 3 years, and it's just restarted with Complex. And I mean, the Complex was an old haunt of ours. But it's just weird. I mean, I've had so much fun that it's just gone like that. And 3 years have just been gone. I just don't know where they went, they just went.
It's a place that people go to listen to new tunes. It's the only regular, 3 years.
And whoever didn't come, you missed it.
Blue Note's school for drum and bass, man. It's like going to school. Yeah. You do your weekly class. You know, you go to Blue Note, you hear what the new shit is.
Yeah. Who's doing what?
Who's playing what, who's mixing up, whatever. It's school, man, do you know what I mean? It's not like going to a club, it's school, and everybody knows that.
I think that's the sort of original place where you can sort of play where you want, play what you want, you know? Like DJs in there really go for it proper, you know?
I mean, you get a total cross-section of people. I mean, from I've had people turn up and say they're in the country for 3 days, they've just come from Denmark, or, you know, hi, I'm from Copenhagen, or I'm from Iceland, or... But then you get people who are from North London, South London, West London. You also get people driven down from Watford, Manchester. So they come from everywhere. I mean, even you get people from the States who might be in town for a week, and they still make it down. Yeah, so you know, it's kind of like a global family there.
At clubs, hard tunes go down well, and like hard beats and hard bass lines. That's what people want. That's what they want to hear at a club.
People want music that's going to make them dance. It's going to make them move. It's about, as I said, creating an atmosphere. Yeah. Although some DJs I've heard Doc Scott come on and bring it right down before he drops something that's lethal.
I'll never forget when Groove Rider plays and he tears down the whole place all the time, every time he plays it. I'll never forget those moments there.
But the point is, it ain't stupid, they know music. Yeah. They know their beats.
As a DJ, you'll have certain things, and you'll be playing certain tunes, and you'll think in different places. You're thinking, right, that these guys aren't ready for this one yet. But in Blue Note, they're always ready, and you're just dropping the new shit there, definitely.
When you're in the club, you know, you're all in there. You know, I mean, everyone can hear what tunes are being dropped, and like, you know, if anyone's coming with any new styles, you know, everyone's going to hear it. You know, so it's like the place to be, really.
If you're going to hear a new style and beat, you're going to hear it there first, I reckon, more than anywhere else, because people are more inclined to experiment with their music down there rather than anywhere else.
A lot of people have been to Blue Note or whatever, and they've heard about Metalheads, and when it comes to their town, when they do a tour or something like that, everybody's there because they want to get on they want a piece of the action, they want it, you know, they want a piece of the vibe.
And they know the book is going to be of a certain standard, you know, and of a certain quality.
It's all about Metalheads, you understand? Metalheads is bad, you understand? It's the biggest and best thing going.
I think people just didn't have the confidence that these small scenes could ram out big places, you know. And of course they can, you know. We used to do it at the Fridge, and you know, there's nothing better than sort of playing underground music to 2,000-3,000 people. Do you know what I mean? And I think that now that the Complex has come along and you've got all those different options and all those better sound systems, you can really, you know, basically pump up hardcore music.
Yeah, there's a vibe at the clubs, obviously, because that's where everyone meets up, you know. That's where everyone would always be together at a club, unless there's a kind of type of meeting, or, you know, someone said we go go-kart racing.
It's going to be cheers and beers, and a few dog steers. No, it's about the speed right now. J Magic happens to be the Don driver as far as their heads are concerned. So I'm just going to follow his black line on the track.
I was very worried about this race before.
I've got no gold, if you notice, to take away my weight. I lost about £1 in weight now, so that should make my advantage a little bit better. Metalheads pie. Next step in the metal merchandise, get a Metalheads pie. Well, you have some.
If you're in any doubt as to the amount of space available to drive through, don't do it. There's plenty of time out there. Take them somewhere else. Teams, do you want to do that in here before we go next door?
Who thinks they can drive? Who thinks they can drive?
I'm here. Who's my team, man?
Okay. Who's got a team? Who else has got a team? Bring down in front. Hey!
What are you saying? That's my crew there, man.
We switched on you.
Number one.
Time for all the heads to come together. Listen to the drum and the bass to take you higher. Cause we come to inject it, we come to play it. We come to rough it, so we come to smash it. Headstrong.
Years ago, I was at work like everybody else, I suppose, and one day came Acid House. That's when my life changed.
It wasn't until 93, 94 when I started to hear what was then called hardcore stroke jungle and was changing into drum and bass, and I heard a couple of tracks, one by Bookham in particular, a track called Music, and what I liked about it was just, and Apollo as well, they were just simple and clean tracks that just had funk in a new way I hadn't heard before.
88, I was I was probably just about discovering the hardcore scene then. I mean, there was a group over here called Spiral Tribe Travellers who used to, you know, raid people's fields and set up tents and sound systems, and that was the first, you know, my introduction to hardcore was Spiral Tribe, basically, in a field with loads of people off their heads on the E, and, you know. Before that, I was a hip-hop boy. That's all that powered me was hip-hop.
For me, the big thing about drum and bass is the fact that it is, to me, a parallel to hip-hop. The fact that when hip-hop started, it was 2 turntables and a mic, and it was the fact that it was something brand new, and there was an ocean of potential, because rock and roll is tired, you know, they keep regurgitating the old things, and you just need every now and again just to close the door and to look into a wide space and go, oh wow, this is the potential. So you start off with a Planet Rock, and then you get a, you know, then you get, I don't know, you get a Tribe Called Quest, and then you can get a Wu-Tang Clan, you know, things develop, you know, and with drum and bass, to me it's the same thing. It's early days really, we're just 5 or 6 years into it.
First original, they used to call it like bonehead music. When I used to work at City Sounds, they used to call me Ray Bonehead because it was so intense. And then it came up with like break hardcore. No, it started off as hardcore, and then after hardcore, we started calling it jungle. And jungle stayed with the scene for a long time. And then it went into like, you know, dark, do you know what I mean? And then it kind of went into jump up and drum and bass, and now the new term for it is jungle stroke drum and bass.
I would say it's a music to express the times we're living in right now.
I think it's just music of today, but it can be listened, you know, any time. It's like when Goldie called his album Timeless. It's kind of summed it up really, hasn't it, in one word. Any time, it doesn't matter. I mean, we still listen to 70s music now.
I mean, I see dance music, the whole scene, as a train journey back from the 70s and 80s. There's this one journey, and there's trains going down these tracks, and every couple of years it stops, and it's all one music. It's all back from funk, from jazz, going to electro, going to hip hop, going to disco music, going to house music, going to rave music, and every now and again one of these music springs up and creates a little scene, and some of them grow massive and others stay small and have their small followers. So of course drum and bass is at the front of that train at the moment. Well, I mean, my influences really start from people like Marvin Gaye, Herbie Hancock, Yellow Jackets, Bob James, more of a sort of jazz, funk, fusion and soul-based background.
The inspiration for me was just really I heard some things that were so different from what I'd heard before, and that's what inspired me, do you know what I mean, rather than one person.
My dad used to listen to Studio One reggae, his sisters grew up listening to soul, a lot of rare groove.
It was for me when I was at school and I was just listening to, I was in the whole rave scene and the hip hop early scene, and it's difficult really because I was like 14, 15 and I couldn't get into clubs because I was too small.
In terms of really getting into the music, it was the whole sort of breakdance era that really kind of intensified the whole feeling.
I don't know, it was just like reggae artists I was into, like Dennis Brown, Frankie Paul, there's just loads of them, you know. And then like hip hop was Mantronics, a lot of the like Big Daddy Kane and stuff like that, you know. I was into that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Ultramagnetic MC is like one of my all-time favourites. I mean, from way back in the day.
See, for me, my influences are from like people like The Clash and James Brown, and it's all fucked up, it's all mixed up, you know what I mean? But these are people that I've grown with.
I like a lot of the 70s jazz, psychedelic jazz, and funk, like Funkadelic. Yeah, and Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, all those kind of people.
I wasn't really even listening to the vocals or anything like that. It was just the beats I was into.
They like all kinds of music for all kinds of reasons. They listen to sounds, you know, they're not biased towards something. If they hear an old Annie Lennox track and there's a good vocal part, they'll use it. If if they hear a bit of Sun Ra and they like that kind of weird electronic keyboard he used in 1968, they'll use it. You know, they're not kind of, oh, that's jazz, we're not going to use that. They're very open-minded musically, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, as I say, that train, we've got all those carriages behind us to go through and look at and just pull out what we want.
The whole music moves. It moves at such a fast pace. You know, it really does, because evolution is such a main ingredient of drum and bass, which is what keeps it fresh, which is what keeps it interesting.
People that are into our music and, you know, buy our music, you know, whatever they're doing around our music, they kind of feel the vibe of us as people, because when we're making the music, that's our soul coming out of us. You know, and it's kind of jumping out onto vinyl, so you can listen to what's inside of R2 Heads.
It's the first British music since punk, which has got an identity, really. I mean, if you ask anyone about drum and bass, they immediately say England or London or Bristol or wherever. So it's the first music since punk to have its home in the UK, which is something that we're proud to be involved in, really. So it's good as a movement that we can all look back in 30 years, whatever, and say we started something.
In one hand, it's brilliant because you can go and do it in your bedroom, and you know the real dons will come through with their own sounds, and therefore they will be at the forefront of it. But the scene does need the four heroes to come along and to take the level to that higher point. And same with Groove Rider, and with Goldie, and with Ronnie Size, and with DJ Crust and Dylan J. Vaughan. So they're all waiting for the next man to kind of go one step further, and that's the great thing about that scene.
You've got people like, as you said, you've got Epsical, Digital Ed Rush, and all those people that are, and Dillinger, that are real bass scientists, you could call them, that are pushing the boundary forwards when it comes to mutating bass sounds.
This is one of the finished breaks that I've been working on.
He's out there on his own, man. He's got his own sounds, constant inspiration, and the thing, he never likes any of his tunes. You ask anybody and they're like, I can't understand it, because he never likes any of his records.
I find when I do a track, maybe I never put all my all into a track. I don't think I've ever done that yet. Right. What I do, I might get like the breaks done and certain parts of the track that I really like done, and then I just fill up the rest of the track with sounds that's similar to what I want.
You can hear a Dillinger tune within the first 4 bars. You're like, that's Carl. You just know. Is it the bass? I mean, it's his beats. Before his bass even drops, you know it's Carl.
What's in there right now is just a kick, that's all in there, that's in there right now.
You've got Carl, you know what I mean, he's knocking out some really fat tunes, the things that he's doing with bass lines, you understand, you know, he's coming with just like totally unique styles. And, you know, he's trying, you know, I can't hear him, I mean, copying anyone at all, you know, it's like he's on his own, he's doing his own thing, you know, and it's like he's creating his own sound and he's going his own direction.
There's different techniques of distorting your bass. You can do it live, you can... See, that's just the bass flat kick. And then like you can... There's loads of ways of doing it. You can just you can double it up and distort another extra bass line track on it. You get a lot of hiss, but it keeps it raw. Totally. When it comes in, it's like an atmosphere to it. And you can... There's different ways you can do it. That's the way I'm doing it today. Wow. There's loads of ways you can get that distorted sort of feel.
The first time I met Dillinger, he started talking to me about hertz and frequencies, and I was like, oh man, this guy knows his bass. You know, he's into it for like serious, you know.
Carl's the worst one. He's got tannoys, but his tannoys go lower than my ones, and several council letters.
My biggest influence is Dillinger, really. Dillinger's a very powerful artist, very quiet but very powerful artist. I mean,
He's a bit of a demon, man. Carl really could take any dance floor apart, and has done for many, many years, because Carl's that kind of guy.
And the breaks are all together at the moment, but
the frequencies that he gets, the way his tunes sound totally apart from everybody else's because of the way he sets up the bass frequencies. You've got total understanding of what he wants to hear, you know?
that's just me barking. Human bark. Sometimes I get sample CDs, now and then, but if I can do it myself, I'll just get the mic out, I'll just make a noise with my mouth, twist it up in the sample or whatever, and it just sounds like an effect. I need to get sessioners in to play what I want them to play, because sometimes you can't always find a sample in a certain key. I mean, you can stretch, and at the end of the day, you're losing quality. You can never find exactly what you want. Whereas now I'm working on my album, I'm actually getting people in and telling them what I want to play, and just locking it all in tight. Just resampling it with different drops. Just different percussion sounds.